In this video, we're going to be checking the timing, removing, and completely disassembling the engine on our 1982 Ford Escort Rally project. My first time, bro, doing a teardown.
Come here, little buddy.
I found my 10mm wrench! Bounced around there, hitting against valves, some deep grooves. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Stance Brothers. Okay, yep. I can fairly accurately check timing based on the keyway position of the camshaft sprocket and the crank pulley. When the crank pulley is positioned at 12 o'clock, which it is, see the white dot? That means the camshaft sprocket should be pointing at 6 o'clock. Well, our camshaft sprocket is actually at 12 o'clock. You can see the keyway and it is facing straight up. That means it's actually 180 degrees out timing wise. This engine is a Ford 1.6 liter CVH engine. These are interference engines. Interference is a type of design where the pistons and valves share the same space inside the engine. This allows for higher compression and better fuel economy. But what that also means, when the timing is off, like ours is, the pistons and valves can end up in the same space at the same time, colliding with each other, causing internal damage to the engine. So what that means is when we finally get the cylinder head off, we could find tons of problems. Oh no! Oh no, bro. You can tell something has fallen down in here before. Look, this is the Hemi piston.
Okay.
This side is all worn down. Yes, the valve has been hitting here, the valve's been hitting there, and the valve's been hitting there. Because this one was torqued down so far and that piece of metal, the little rocker fulcrum was missing, and it was staying open, right? So the piston would come up, bam, bam, even more because of that. Okay, we got our cylinder head flipped over here. What we're just gonna do is we're gonna rotate the camshaft over best we can, just to inspect the valves, see if we can tell if there's any damage. This is the intake side of the engine, and this is the exhaust side of the engine. You can see right here on the edge of that valve, that valve, that valve, and this valve, there's a little shiny spot right there, that they have made contact at one point or another. Does that mean they're bent? I'm not sure. We are actually going to take time to inspect this head gasket while we're down here. This has been replaced before someone had the head off. You see these are called freeze plugs. These two are actually brand new, and this one is rusty, so that makes me think that it's actually been in there the entire life of this car. I actually don't see any areas where this has blown through. I'm pretty sure whoever did this beforehand more than likely did not have this head milled down. I mean, maybe it has. I just would have expected this to be a whole lot smoother. When we pulled the head gasket off, we're actually able to still see the part number here. eBay, nice. ROL HD 31660 head gasket for 81 to 84 Ford Escort. With all the correct heat cycles, this would more than likely have just kind of faded over time. This head gasket has not been on here very long. Someone else was definitely into this engine before we got it. But we have good stuff coming. We got all fell probe. We specifically chose a
multi-layer steel head gasket.
Aluminum expands and contracts faster. Cast iron expands and contracts slower. That can cause actual friction between the cylinder head and the block, causing your head gasket to fail prematurely. So this
multi-layer steel head gasket
will allow those things to still stay sealed, but expand and contract at their own rate. In order to pull the engine, we had to remove a lot of the accessories. We removed the alternator, as well as the AC compressor. We also had to remove the power steering pump, as well as disconnect the speedometer cable and the reverse cable. In addition to that, we disconnected all the wiring and set it off to the side. Now, the only part we actually had to remove is the engine block. However, because the input shaft of the transmission goes in the back of the engine, we would have to slide the engine block to the left in order to get that out. What we're running into is interference with this crank pulley and the side of the frame rail right here, which means we'll have to pull them both out together as a complete assembly. So to make sure the transmission is completely free, we also removed the shifter linkage down underneath, as well as the front CV axles. Now at this point, we have a jack supporting the base of the engine. All we have to do now is pull out the bolts from the motor mounts, and then we should be able to just drop it right out the bottom and slide it out. I do want to note the different types of mounts we're removing. So this one's going to be our upper motor mount. This one over here is going to be our lower transmission mount. This one's actually going to be called a torque strut. It also has one back here that we disconnected way down there. And then this is just our other transmission mount back over there. So we're gonna remove this upper one first. Since the engine is supported by the jack, it should be pretty level. If it does teeter side to side, it shouldn't be too much movement. The motor mounts will catch it. The rubber deteriorated from the inside of that torque strut. So probably what we'll do is we'll go through and get some poly mounts, create them, because with this car, there's so many things that are just not available anymore, even from Burton Power, like those CV axles. We're probably gonna have to take those to an axle shop, get them rebuilt. Just trying to not mess up any aluminum threads. Okay, we've removed the final bolt from the rear transmission mount right here. The engine is sitting on the jack, and it's only supported up here by this one stud in this two-piece upper motor mount. What we're gonna do now is we're going to support the engine from going back and forth while I separate this two-piece motor mount, and then we're going to just let it down slowly and slide it out as one assembly. Coming down. Ooh. Careful. There is a little bit of fluid coming out. It's just coolant, but we did already drain the oil and transmission fluid. Just gonna remove the oil dipstick so we can slide it out without it hitting the front of the car. We could just, you know, pick it up. Like we already did, but you can't pull it out while you're lifting unless you got strong toes. Maybe I could pick up this part of the car and you pull it out. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Now, due to lack of tools, I actually don't recommend dropping engines out from beneath the bottom of the car. However, we don't have an engine hoist, and with the vehicle up on these ramps, this is the best way that we could figure out how to do it. Most of the time, you're going to want to pull it out from the top, not like this. This is the crankcase breather that we now have to get a new one of. We're gonna separate the transmission from the engine block. Working on it.
Now you've got it.
Man, that's heavy. Yeah. Since we have water running through our shop, when a good rain comes, we're gonna keep the transmission elevated. We're gonna set it up on these blocks, or what's left of them, and hope for the best. Mint, right? So I'm just marking the flywheel and the clutch assembly so we can put it on right back the same way. Drew 2 lines down here at the 5 and 7 o'clock. And then up here, about 12, I wrote top because that's just where the top was closest to the engine block. So just point of reference mainly is what that is. Clutch looks like it's in great shape, honestly. That barely has any mileage on it. That looks good. Not really any hot spots. Now comes the fun part. Last people to put this together were more than likely the engineers at Ford. That's kind of cool. Wow, look at that. All right, we're going to put 2 bolts here and probably 2 down there if possible. Let's set her down.
Come here, little buddy.
Okay, so what we did, we needed some longer bolts for the top of the engine block to go through to this engine stand bracket. What we did, we actually took out 2 of the rear transmission mount bolts. The thread pitch is correct, they will work. We'll find 2 other bolts, put a nut on the back, be good to go. The engine stand bracket is mounted. Let's get it on the stand. The odometer only reads 35,000 miles. Let's see what happens. Well, not good, not bad. Pickup screen for the oil sump. Looks like it does have some debris in it, but keep in mind this engine's been sitting for a very long time. Oh, you know what? This might be the oil pump. So you prime the oil pump from this boss right here, and it sucks oil up off the pan and pumps it throughout the engine, the top of the cylinder. Yeah, I've never done this before. This is all learning process and following by the book.
So is this your first time doing a teardown or following the book?
My first time doing a teardown and my first time following the book. You only have one chance of this thing, man. First thing to come off is the water pump, just for ease of access. I always want to replace the bolts where they came from. That way, for me personally, it just helps me remember where they go when I put the parts back on. That gasket's toast, like I said, but this water pump is brand new, barely been used, and we're getting a new gasket in that full engine rebuild set we got. The next thing we're removing here is the timing belt sprocket coming off of the crankshaft, and we're just using light pressure with this pry bar. You want to do it from both sides. Just make sure you don't get it crooked on there. When you're prying against aluminum, just gotta be very careful. There we go. I got it. No damage done. We've got this little spacer here. It's got a groove in it for that keyway. So we want to, when we slide this off gently, make sure it lines up with the keyway. Slide that off. You see by those sprocket marks that it goes on like this. And then this is our oil pump right here. These flat marks line up with the flat piece here on the crankshaft so that as the engine turns, it's continually pumping oil from the oil pan up to the cylinder head. Make sure everything stays lubricated properly. And we do know that this works and works well. We will probably end up disassembling it to clean it. Right now, I'm just gonna loosen up these bolts on the bearing carriers. One thing that's great about this engine is each bearing cap has a number on them. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the front of the engine to the back of the engine. Also, something to note is that the numbers are on the back side of the engine facing the firewall. That way, when you go to reinstall them with new bearings, you know what orientation they go back on. I went ahead and put some painter's tape just on the end of the crankshaft here where this keyway is. You don't want to lose that. I also put the bolt back in the end just so I remember where it goes. Well, before we go on, I want everyone to know I found my 10mm wrench! And now that I don't need it, I found it. Ridiculous. I'm gonna pull this end cap off. Oh wow, that actually looks really good, but it also looks really bad. And good to know, there is a stamping on the end that says number 1. And if you look over here, you can see in the end right here, there's a number 1 stamped on the side of the piston connecting rod. All right, so it's time to pull the crankshaft out. There's like a gold stripe in the middle of each of these bearing mating surfaces. My first ever crankshaft I've ever pulled. I love it actually, it's pretty sick. Seal don't look too bad, don't look too good. All right, so here are our main bearing caps. There's some decent wear. This gold stuff is something you'll see in like a very high mileage engine, which I will say makes me think that maybe this Escort is 135,000 miles instead of just 35, because this is an insane amount of wear in my opinion, based on what I've learned. We've got some copper goldish stuff showing through. This is main cap number 1 right here. It's worn through the top layer of like Teflon, if you want to call it. Yeah, but it does have some grooves in here. I can catch, my finger does kind of skip along, but nothing that my fingernail is like snagging and sticking to. Main cap number 2, we're seeing it has worn through the outside layer of mating surface down to the copper here, like it's wearing slightly uneven over here. There's a groove like right in here that I can catch my finger in, and so that's not great. There's definitely some hard grooves in this one right here. That's got a big deep groove in it. That's not great. This one's got a huge groove in it too. I'm literally riding my fingernail right in it. And same for this one here. And again, this engine had something go through it. You can see this piston here, it looks like a bolt fell down into the combustion chamber and then just got bounced around there, hitting against valves. Looks like a valve came down and hit here. Ton of valve slap, being out of timing, or the timing belt broke. Other than that, as far as pistons go, 2 through 4 look to be in decent shape. However, we are looking at some pretty decent main bearing damage. So we're doing a quick visual inspection with this crankshaft. At first glance, doesn't look that bad. However, we're gonna come down here to main cap number 3, and you can start to feel some little ridges in here. Number 4, it's actually even worse, especially over here. Some deep grooves like right there. Number 5 is pretty good. And then also where the bearings go for the connecting rods. Number 1 does have some grooving in it. Number 2 feels decently smooth. Number 3, some deep grooves. Number 4, not too bad, honestly. I don't know actually if that means that this crank is good, just needs a quick polish and some new bearing tolerances accounted for. I think this crank is savable. Let's check out the cylinders really quick. We're gonna go here with cylinder number 1. These 2 vertical lines right here, I can actually feel that with the pad of my finger. That's pretty bad. Don't know if we'll be able to get that out with a stone hone or a dingle ball hone. We'll do our best. Here in cylinder number 2, that actually looks good, and I'm able to look down there and see some light cross hatching. Nothing too major, but just a little bit. Cylinder number 3 doesn't look to be anything crazy. I can see some lines here, but I don't think that's any area of concern. Cylinder number 4, honestly looks really good. There's a small ring ridge here, maybe just from when it was sitting before we got it. So we've gotten it all torn apart. We've gotten all the parts set in order the way they need to go. Our next step is to get a bunch of parts ordered and we can begin the reassembly process on our little 1.6 Ford CVH. That's all for this video. Stance Brothers out!